You heard it right here, right now from the beach.
The new ivory is mammoth.
What do you guys want to know? I've done way too much research on dinosaurs.
Almost a larger-than-life figure.
No reason at all to think it was made by aliens.
Drop down and go swimming as fast as you can. Out of whale.
All these big giants give me a kiss and tell me they don't.
The crowd, just the pot, the loudness, the excitement, the electricity. I don't know if I can take your little Canadian destroyer.
Future is scary, but it's also wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast where genuine meets uncensored, powered by Jägermeister. We are skipping lunchtime in Montenegro. People are preparing for work in Salt Lake City. In Adelaide, the clock just struck midnight. And we are about to welcome our guest to this podcast for a second time. He stands tall in many amateur wrestling, mixed martial arts, and pro wrestling Hall of Fames. With career decorated by numerous championships, you could see him in UFC, WWE, and WA. He is the host of both Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity podcast and Unleashed with Dan, the Beast Severn, and Eric Carroll. The man among men and the beast among ropes, Dan Severn. Dan, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And
well, thank you, gentlemen, for having me out again.
Yeah, anytime. We promised. So thank you for coming back. And we know your origin story and everything so far. I believe a lot of our audience does. And what were you up to? I think it's almost exactly a year since we last saw you on this podcast.
Oh, geez. Okay, year. Well, a lot has happened in the past year. I sort of split my time between Arizona and Michigan. I'm in Michigan right now, usually for spring, summer, and fall. And then I spend my winter months out in Arizona so that I could typically wear shorts and T-shirts on a year-round basis. But today is an extremely cold day in Michigan, which is that normal? Not usually normal, but sometimes you've seen snow actually falling on Mother's Day, which is in a couple of weeks from now. But no, I'm back in Michigan right now. I'm actually down in Coldwater, Michigan. I'm in my training facility as I speak to you gentlemen, and just doing some things down here. And you might notice this mark on my forehead. And no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I did not participate in a professionals match and ended up getting bladed recently. No, that was I went one-on-one with Mother Nature yesterday. I was out in my orchard. I actually have a small orchard on my property, and I was out there pruning the various fruit trees. And just between doing all the lopping stuff like that, one of the branches came down, just basically just scratched me. I'm just glad it hit me in the forehead and didn't take out an eye. Okay, so otherwise I'd be looking like Captain Bligh here with my patch up. Yeah.
You mess with the beast, you go to chop down.
So no, I took advantage of a nice day outside yesterday. Today is going to be kind of a rainy day, so it'll be a day that I'll spend a little bit more time indoors, and I'll be doing cleaning up and other things around in my training facility. But because I'm in preparation, hopefully by next weekend I will be conducting an amateur wrestling clinic, a professional wrestling clinic, and a mixed martial arts and submission grappling clinic, all in the same day.
Now when you're up to that, obviously, when we talk about you, we have to talk about martial arts and professional wrestling. And just want to ask you, entertainment-wise, have you watched the UFC 300? Have you been up to date with the UFC recently?
Well, to a certain extent, like for example, I watched a couple of the highlighted matches of UFC 300. A lot of it just is because of what you said, that I live such a busy lifestyle. I always tell people that I'm not watching life pass me by. I'm actually participating in it. When I become a really old person and I have nothing better to do, then I will watch life. But in the meantime, while I'm still young enough and I can do things, and I say that like that because you two gentlemen are much younger than what I am. And at 65 years of age, it's always shocking for me to think, gosh, I'm 65 now, and I have more people now that follow me on the social media outlets because they're shocked at my age and all the things I continue to do. As I said, like this past winter was kind of like a healing process for me because I had to take care of a couple issues that had been lingering for the last few years. Like for example, I had a total right hip replacement. It has been bothering me for the last 4 years, and I finally had that taken care of. No one knows that now because I'm out there doing all the same things. I conducted a couple seminars these last couple weekends, and people they were shocked when they heard me say that I was a little concerned about coming here because this was going to be my first seminar back after taking basically about 3 months off to have a hip replaced, and then you can kind of see the scars still a little bit on the hands, but I had both hands what is known as carpal tunnel surgery, where your hands start to lock up, your fingers will start to lock up for that, and they tingle all the time, and it's kind of like I had both. Normally, you don't do both at the same time because you usually do one or the other because you have to take care of your personal issues, like when you go to the bathroom. If you have both hands take a place, how are you supposed to assist yourself when you're trying to basically wipe your butt? Okay, so I'll just be kind of blunt about that.
Yeah.
So I just told the doc, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. I'll improvise, and rest assured, I simply just improvised, and or I had a really good friend.
I won't go into detail about that.
Yeah,
Keep your
no,
secrets.
it's when you tend to start losing your modesty more and more as you get older, just because you're seeing more doctor's visits.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, in the United States, there's kind of a normal protocol. You're supposed to have a primary physician first. I never had a primary physician. I was, for what I was doing in professional wrestling, any state that I went to, I had to have an HIV test, a Hep B, Hep C test. For cage fight, I had to have all the same things. So every 2 or 3 months, I think it was only good for maybe 90 days or something like that, I would have to get the next test and the next test. So I was always going and getting blood tests and get the basic physical to know that I'm healthy enough to go get beat up, or I'm healthy enough to go do professional wrestling. And it's like, I never had a primary physician. And so now, in order to get like the hip done and get these double carpal tunnels, I go, well, who's your primary physician? I go, I don't have one. So it was almost ridiculous because I had to go and see them to get a physical. And literally, as they're doing a physical, I'll go, my blood pressure is probably here, my heartbeat's probably here, and they're like going, wow, you know? They're like, how do you know so well? I go, because I haven't changed much in all this time, other than a lot of people don't recognize me with the gray hair now and the gray mustache.
Mm.
But I always tell people, when they come up and they see me at, like, what do they say, professional wrestling or mixed martial arts autograph signing, they'll have all these different pictures that'll be laid out, and I go and I point to every one of these pictures and go, and every one of these pictures, whether it be for professional wrestling or for mixed martial arts, that color is called Just From In number 45. I was coloring my hair. I was coloring my mustache. I was coloring my eyebrows, because you got to think of the psychology. If you were to walk into a cage and you saw across from you a gray-haired, gray mustached old man, would you be intimidated? No. But if it was dark and dastardly looking, oh, again, but that's stuff that I learned in professional wrestling. So I utilize some things I learned from professional wrestling, and I used it in mixed martial arts, and vice versa. So,
yeah. But since we are speaking about injuries, body condition, and everything, you spoke about your injuries and being hurt in both pro wrestling and mixed martial arts. So, which do you think that hurt more your body, professional wrestling or UFC?
oh, professional wrestling, without a doubt, professional wrestling. But it's only because, well, again, I'll say your injuries are going to happen more. Well, in my case, they were going to happen more in professional wrestling now. Again, when you watch a lot more of the more modern days of mixed martial arts, the athletes are so much more well-developed, well-rounded, you know,
Mhm.
during the era of the no holds barred. I mean, I saw it from no holds barred where a lot of people were one-dimensional. And exactly, I was a one-dimensional athlete as well. They had categories of you could be you'd be more of a grappler, and if they said grappler, that meant you were a judo, jujitsu, amateur wrestler, things of that nature, or you could be a striker. If you're a striker, you could be a boxer, kickboxer, Muay Thai, karate, kung fu, but then as with each progressive show that took place, the athletes were starting to cross over to each other, to where they're today athlete. You can have somebody that came from a boxing background, but they can grapple with some of the best of the grapplers, and some of the grapplers. I mean, I should say, some of the wrestlers, jujitsu people, they can now strike with some of the best of the strikers. So it's called full circle. But when you talk about 300, the UFC show 300, the grand finale match, the main event for the BMF belt. Oh, you couldn't ask for a better. It was like having a strawberry sundae and somebody threw a cherry on top. Boom! It was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of. I mean, the whole fight was crazy, but that final sequence was movie-like.
The fact that you've got one gentleman. He basically has won all 5 rounds, and yet he looks to Gaethje and actually points to Gaethje, points to the center to give him a chance in that final 10, 15 seconds where they're just throwing everything at each other, and then to get a knockout in the final couple seconds. I don't think a professional wrestling match could have been laid out any better than what they laid it out.
Yeah. Don Frye would be proud of that moment. But obviously you mentioned now obviously that some of the today's even strikers can grapple with grapplers, and grapplers can obviously stand with the best of strikers. But do you think right now, watching some of the MMA currently, and the athletes are very well rounded and all of that, do you think that maybe amateur wrestling is still kind of maybe the best base? And is there maybe you can answer this, is there a problem for some guys who are wrestling to adapt that to MMA? Because amateur wrestling and wrestling in obviously the octagon is not the same. Do you think that there's that kind of problem for some guys? Because I think we saw, for example, Henry Cejudo, who is an Olympic gold medalist, but he was handled by Merab Dvalishvili, who doesn't have that kind of credentials, but it seems that his wrestling in the octagon worked better.
I think, well, again, I'm going to come across basically probably being, sorry about that. I thought I had turned my volume down. I'm turning it right down right now. It's going to come across probably a little bit more biased for my opinion because I come from that amateur background. I know what the mental aspects of an athlete. There's mental, and then there's the athletic aspects of the sport. Wrestling is a very mental game. I mean, it's mano a mano in first place, just like you have in the Ultimate Fighting Championships, MMA. And wrestling it's a test of wills where they tend to grind on each other. It's referred to as a grind because you're just, there's no letting up. There's pressure at all times. Now, but if you fast forward to today, and there's been several posts that have been recently put up, simply just showing where these current UFC champions, what sport background did they come from to begin with, knowing that yes, they had to add a few more things to the arsenal. But you'll see that there are more champions and more placers from the sport of wrestling, amateur wrestling, than any other sport. And That's not Dan Severn saying it. That's just pure fact of when you look at the Ultimate Fighting Championships, you look at the current champions and where did they come from? What was their origin that they came from? Yes, they had to learn something about striking. Yes, they had to learn something about submissions, but you would be surprised. Some of the submissions are simply just amateur wrestling moves that they turn illegal versus legal. But even some of the legal moves, I mean, what if you've never felt a good old fashioned chicken wing, if you never felt a good old fashioned crossface or a power half, they all hurt. They're legal techniques, but they don't feel good in the process. So you are breaking your opponent's will. So it's that mental game, and it's definitely a very physical game on top of all. It's a mental physical chess match is what it is.
Once I actually spoke to someone who trained, wrestling, and he said to me something that I found very interesting. The thing about wrestling that is different to other martial arts for me is that there is no defense. We are always on attack. Would you agree with that statement?
No, I agree. It's because if you start backing up and trying to avoid the action, the referee will be there cautioning you because it's all about you've got to make contact. It's even there's strategic things to even do inside of a wrestling match to where I always knew that I would keep the center of the mat to my back, knowing that my opponent is on outer perimeters, so it's already looking bad for him in the first place. I will once the referee blows whistle, I simply advance across quickly, making contact, and as they start moving backwards, already in their eyes, in the referee's eyes, and that the opponent is starting to back away from the action. He's starting to look to play the edge, and in college wrestling, just like in freestyle at Greco, you can start some action in the inside the boundary, and you can carry it outside of the boundaries to where you can still score points as long as the action was started inside the circle. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've seen some people actually they started and they were so aggressive they went from inside the circle to the out of bounds to where they ended up in the first couple seats of the bleachers. they went a little too far.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, but I want to get back to UFC 300 for a second because Mark Coleman was the one who put the belt on.
Who presented the belt, yes.
Yeah, and he had a very tough life situation recently, and you reached out and Lori on your social channels, shout out to Lori, to everyone to just give alert about what happened to Mark Coleman and everything, and knowing that you and Mark are friends. Have you maybe spoken with him since then? And
well, yes, I mean the fact again, what you're alluding to is recently there was a fire situation that took place right next door in his parents' home, and Mark, without even thinking, I mean, he just rushed right in because it's his parents. He's trying to, and he didn't think. He simply just reacted and went in. And
his dog as well, Hammer. And his dog as well.
Yes. Well, again, he did find both parents, and he carried them out to safety, and then he went in looking for his dog, but he could not find the dog. He had to lose. The dog was actually lost in the fire. But I mean, to me, it's like going. That is the mentality of a wrestler, but then also, I mean, it was a very heroic thing that Mark did as well. He didn't think about his own life in that, and as it was, he took it so much smoke inhalation that he basically he went into like a coma for I think a couple of days before he came back out, and and I'll say that all is well now. But you always wonder, what did the smoke actually do to you in the process? I mean, he risked his life to rescue his parents, and they came out. But at what cost to him now did that? I'm sure again, it's your parents, and you do anything for them. So
yeah, And I like that Holloway actually called for him to wrap the belt, because it was like it was a nice gesture, but it was also like point on for the moment. Very on top.
Yeah. No.
Let me ask you this.
Well, again, the belt has the proper name, and the two athletes that were in that match, they did honors to the BMF belt. Yes.
Yeah. Let me ask you this also. I wanted to ask you, in regards to wrestling styles and all of that, one of the things that we see for the last few years in the lightweight division of the UFC is we had dominance of Khabib, and now we have, it seems, dominance of Islam Makhachev, and both have incredible wrestling credentials, and obviously outside of that also glorious other fighting skills. But wrestling is something that put them on the map. It seems that especially on Khabib's side, nobody has found the answer to just get the guy off of him. Did you encounter, any in your career, any people competed from Dagestan, encounter their style? Is there something different that they do? Did you encounter maybe what you saw on the television from them? That there's something similar in that style.
What it boils down to is inside the United States, primarily we do a sport that is known as folk style wrestling. Folk style wrestling is different from freestyle and Greco-Roman. Folk style is what we'll do in they'll have kids events that take place. They'll start training, and then they'll actually have youth and kids type of tournaments. This is all folk style all the way through until basically you graduate college. So now you have this athlete that is 21, 22, and the only way to represent the United States country at that point in time is in the sport of freestyle or Greco-Roman wrestling. Those are your two international styles. That's what's competed at the World Championships, the World Cup, and at the Olympic Games. The rest of the world is doing freestyle and Greco-Roman. The United States, for that first 20, 21 years of your age, you're doing folk style. So when the United States only picks up maybe a couple medals at the Olympic Games, they think it's great. They would be a lot better off if they simply just change the system to where let's start doing freestyle and Greco at these young ages. The rest of the world is doing it, and that's why the United States doesn't do as well. To me, it's a pretty easy formula to fix. And when kids are young, they like doing. It's easy to get kids into doing gymnastics and all kinds of roles and things of that nature. They look at it as fun. And to get into throwing your opponent, something like that, again, they show how to throw and throw safely and stuff of that nature. Competition is a whole different animal at that point. So as I put it, the United States is a very civilized sport of amateur wrestling. It wasn't, I think I began the story before, but if I didn't, or if I did, forgive me, my very first international experience ever, I'm part of a age group US team, between 16 to 18 years of age. I'm 17, and we go to the country of Turkey. And my first opponent is a 35-year-old military man. And I have a lot longer hair at that point in time. And when he does a collar tie up, he actually does a collar tie up, but then he actually grabs a wad of my hair, and then he headbutts me, splitting my eyebrow open, and then to add insult to injury, he pulls a wad of my hair out of my head and just flings it on the ground. Back then, freestyle wrestling matches were 9 minutes long, three-minute periods. This happens in opening 15 seconds. I look at the referee like, this match should be over. My opponent should be disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct but we're not in Kansas City anymore, Toto. We're in his country. We're doing the sport of freestyle. You know, it's just a whole different ball game. And so even in freestyle and Greco, you do not stop matches for blood. If you have a bloody nose, split lips, split eyebrow, you don't stop for blood. There's no stoppage. You wrestle with a handkerchief inside your singlet, so you reach in, you pull up, you wipe, they shove back in, and action just keeps going. There's no, hey, time out. I have a bloody nose. No. It's just a whole different animal, and that's where the UFC. You got to realize I spent 3 different ownerships of the Ultimate Fighting Championships, and so with each one, I'll say with each one there were new headaches, new hurdles that they had to go through, and when I would meet some of the different matchmakers, they would be like, "Hey, Dan, how do you think we're doing?" I go, "Well, you're doing okay for right now," but I go, you have Americans, and you have some Japanese, and you got some Brazilians, and you got some Canadians. That's all you have. You got basically 4 different continents that are being represented. I go, where's the Mongols? Where's the Bulgarians? Where's the Russians? I go, you would be surprised what is walking our planet right now. Again, I've said this back then. I go, you got some teenager that is up on a mountainside right now that's got a club, and he's guarding his flock of sheep, and he's got 3 wolves surrounding the sheep, ready to try to snag one of them to take it off and eat them. And if he loses any of his sheep, his dad's going to kick his butt in the process. So that kid's motivated. He's going to kill those 3 wolves with a club.
Yeah. That was me basically when I saw I don't know if you've seen the Kazakh fighter Shavkat Rakhmonov from Kazakhstan. I mean, the guy looks just like, he actually fought. He looks like he actually fought wolves when he was a kid.
No, I mean, you've become so pacified. I kind of beat up America a lot there because most have never traveled to another country. They just they don't understand how you go and you turn on a light switch and the lights come on. That doesn't always happen in other countries, okay? The fact that you have electricity, you have water that you can go to your faucet and turn on, and it's drinkable. There's certain creature comforts that Americans have that they just don't get it. They don't understand. And it's like going, you don't understand how your freedoms are being taken away from you because you're comfortable still. Again, that's where I'm not here to beat up on Americans because I am American, but I wish they would sort of wake up and be a little bit more observant of your surroundings.
Yeah, we even talked prior to recording this episode about your background and the flag behind you.
But this is the flag being upside down is symbolic. And anyone that is in like that military type of mindset knows that an upside down flag represents distress. And I think that our country is in a great deal of distress because of, it's fighting amongst itself. It's fighting amongst itself. It's divided in a lot of different ways, but our media is not helping the cause. It's like the media is in on the action as well. There's certain things that if you say it on somewhere on social media, all of a sudden it's like, how did that just get banned?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be just a freedom of speech, and yet our country is starting to try to ban this. These are forms of communism, and any country that has ever had communism failed. Yep. And that's where it's like, and the people are not happy underneath communism. The thing is, anyone that enjoys having money and wealth, things of that nature, that's called that's called capitalism, and usually it falls into the category of most Republicans believe in capitalism. They believe that if you go out and work, that you get compensated for your work, so that now you can go buy food, shelter, all the goods, cars, whatever. You can buy things, but it's the mentality is changing. I mean, you've got again, if you're watching America, you have people that now one day they've been a man all their life, and today they wake up and go, oh, I think I identify as being a woman now, and not only am I going to be a woman, but I wanted to jump into women's boxing. I would jump into women's weightlifting and women's swimming. It's like going, you got all of these men that now want to be a transgender. And to me, it's like going, why don't you just have three types of sporting events? There's sporting events for men, there's sporting events for women, and then those that don't know what they are, let's have a sporting event for them. That would be a great, think of that. That would be so entertaining to watch.
But should the one that were men and now women, and one that were women and now men, compete against each other, or we should have two subcategories?
Yeah. That's
the math
strange
is different.
times. It's like I always tell people that if Dan Severn was president, there'd be no problems. If Don Frye was president, there'd be no problems, because Don Frye. I always tell people that I'm actually pretty tame compared to Don. Don would be like, "Going, are you?" He'd be like, "Are you fucking nuts?" Yeah.
IKUZO.
Since we are talking a little bit political and everything, last weekend I went to see a movie, Civil War. It is about the Civil War in America in the present time, because California and Texas want to get independence from the United States, Florida on its end as well. And I saw a lot of comments on the internet because the movie is really great, and a lot of people spoke, this is not a movie, it's a documentary, we can expect this and that's similar. Is that really a situation in USA, or we are far from that?
Well, again, I did not see the movie which you're talking about. I mean, when you're talking about, like, remember the Alamo? I mean, when that was between Mexico and the United States. Is that what you're talking about right now?
No, it's Civil War inside the United States is
okay.
The reality. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Alex Garland's Civil War. California and Texas wants independence. Washington doesn't give them independence. Civil War starts. That's the same.
Well, again, I did not see that movie. To me, it's like a state like Texas. They're, well, I don't know. I mean, it's well, again, I'll say that right now. I mean, I thought one of the best run states was probably Florida, because you had the governor there. He's a strong leader. There's Governor DeSantis. A lot of it just boils down to what is your leadership. But the biggest problem we have in the United States is accountability of our leadership. Because once they're in office, they could do a lot of different things. And because of all the chaos, all the different chaos taking place, that transgender this, and you got shortages starting to take place. There's potential looming more over there, and it seems like our Congress and our Senate and the House, they're trying to, like, they're sending billions of dollars here, sending billions of dollars there, and the war is taking place. With Ukraine, and that it just, there's so much bullshit that's taking place. It has people's attention in all these different directions. But that's when, as I always say, that you got to watch out for the magician in the room, because where is his hands at? his hands keeps reaching back into your pocket
Yeah.
and grabbing out your wallet and taking out your money. Is that politician? Is he coughing up anything? No. And yet all these politicians they have these lavish meals, they have these lavish gatherings. Are they paying for it? No. People's tax dollars. And that's where people have to get back and to more of the basics and to understand things. I actually think, well, a couple of things that they've taken out of our school system over the years was they took out prayer and they've taken out the Pledge of Allegiance. Those are two things that they've taken out. Was that on purpose? I don't know. I can't tell you. But see, I remember when I was still in school, especially at a young age, there was still prayer and there was the Pledge of Allegiance. Every morning you stood up and said the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll bet you that most Americans can't say the Pledge of Allegiance. I actually, can I go into a different story altogether?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
But my other story was I was down in teaching a seminar, and the gentleman ahead of time he goes, Danny goes, there's a lot of people that would like to do something special with you. They would like to get a certificate from you. That because I mean, even though they were in a seminar, I don't hand out certificates just because you're a participant in a seminar. I just don't do that. And he goes, he wants to do something special, wait for the seminar to where these people are going to be with you for a 3-hour block. And I kept thinking, Dan Severn's standards are a lot higher than other people's. And it's not that I gloat about, it's just something that I hold myself to a different set of standards. I don't tell other people. And I started, and I'm driving here. I realize I'm driving for about I don't know, I'll say like about 30 hours. So I have plenty of time to make some notes as I'm going. I put together kind of a physical fitness test. There used to be in the United States, there used to be what they call the Presidential Physical Fitness Awards. It used to exist. If you were to ask anyone today, young people, they've never heard of it. Older people heard about it maybe 20 some years, yeah, at least 2 decades or so ago is the last you probably ever heard it, to where you should be able to do so many basic number of push-ups, sit-ups, a little shuttle run, just something easy. I was putting together a Dan Severn version of this.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was asked that much. I kept looking at my numbers. Okay, it might be a little bit too high. I had to keep lowering the numbers, kept lowering the numbers. I'm like going, why am I lowering the numbers? I go, these were all numbers I could do up until just a couple of years back. And it wasn't because of me getting older. It was because of having a hip that was not really functioning all that well. It was because of having hands that were not functioning all that well. And I know that now, since having these surgeries, my goal is from that 1 year mark of having the hip and stuff like that, I want to be going back to be able to do my standards. And I'll be doing that at 66 years plus. And knowing that most people half my age or more will fail. Is that right? No.
No.
Am I exceptional? No. I've lived, I mean, I did, was part of what I was learning through athletics in the first place. I did just fine in school, but they're not even teaching proper types of things in school anymore. It's like math. They teach math that you don't use.
Yeah.
But that's true. I mean, if you were to what I call practical math, I'd be like, you might want to buy a house one day. house is going to cost you this much. If you put this much down onto it, your interest rate of this. When you start saying, if you put it to something that actually applies to something, you want to buy a house one day, you want to buy a car one day.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest, again, this could get this whole episode banned here right now. One of the biggest fallacies is when you're in high school, you have usually one or two counselors in your school that says, you guys have to go to college. Everyone's got to go to college. No, that's so wrong. Because if I go back to what the same analogy I just used, in order for you to buy a car, you have to qualify for a loan, because most people don't have enough money to go to college. If you go to buy whether buy a car or buy a house, you have to go and qualify for a loan. And yet, when you go to college, they will give you all kinds of college tuition loans for free.
Well, it's not
That-
free.
Okay, yeah, exactly. No. At the time, okay,
Yeah, I
but
know
see,
what you're saying.
nobody reads that fine print.
Yeah,
It-
exactly.
Okay, and now these college loans will hang over your head for the next 20, 30 or more years, maybe for the rest of your life, because again, I'm beat up on my fellow Americans because most Americans are not good at saving money. They're not good at investing money. They're more or less interested in living for today. It's, as my mother would say, chicken today, feathers tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have similar situation here because what you're explaining is basically hyperproduction of academics, which won't have a place because of the hyperproduction, and we are losing people fit for roles of ordinary jobs, or even I don't know, tailors and similar stuff is dying out. So
Yeah.
we'll be fucked up pretty soon. So
Yeah, no, it is. Well, again, if you don't, I would tell people about high school graduation, if you don't know what you want to be in life, either again, because again, I'll say go into the military for 4 years, because what they have in the United States is known as the GI Bill. If you go into the military for 4 years, hopefully there'll be 4 years that there's no war, stuff like that take place. So, but the military will help you get squared away in life. It will make, because you're being yelled at all times to make your bed, clean up your room. I mean, the same thing that your mother said, except you got a drill sergeant that's screaming at you now. And if you don't do things, yeah, you'll be doing push-ups, you'll be at KP duty, you'll have all the worst jobs in the world. But I think a lot of Americans need that because they're not getting it through their parenting. Not that you have to be a mean parent, but you have to hold your child accountable for their actions. That's all it boils down to. When everything is like, Johnny, you get a timeout. What does that mean? He gets to go into his room where he takes his cell phone, where he's got his laptop, to where he doesn't mind having a timeout because he's still in there playing and go, oh, my mom sent me to my room, and here I am. I mean, there's no real punishment there. Again, I don't say you have to beat your kid, but there has to be a follow through for things.
Yeah.
So
Let me ask you this, because obviously we talked about politics, and obviously the whoever our leaders are and however good or bad they are not responsible for all our problems or fortunes. But I never actually got the chance, because we had obviously many Americans on the show, but since we were talking about other stuff, I never got the chance to ask. And you lived for 65 years, as you said. Who was the greatest president that you experienced that was in the office while in your lifetime of the United States, that you were like?
A couple of them will come by. Reagan was a good president. Things were good underneath Reagan, but then, I mean, honestly, the more recent time, Trump by far. Well, I don't like all of his antics, but he made America first. He made Americans first. We were independent of all other countries, which we should be. He brought back manufacturing. It might be like he was saying that because a lot of people were going to have things produced in Asian type countries because the workforce was cheaper, labor force, stuff like that. So a lot of these American companies, they're building cars and they're building all this other stuff in other countries, and they have it shipped back. And Trump basically said, well, that's fine if you want to do that, but if you want to bring that car back into the country, this is the tariff you're going to pay because you took away an American job. So what I like about his policies back then, he did put America first. He put Americans, first, and everything they did. There were no wars that took place because he's like going, hey, we're not funding you for this. We're not funding you guys for that. Why are we giving you guys money in the first place? And yet you guys keep bad mouthing us, stuff like that. Well, goodbye. See you later. He went to the United Nations. He made demands to them, not demands, but he talked straight to them. He goes, this is ludicrous. Why should we belong to this or why should we belong to that? If you guys are going to keep doing these stupid things, we're going to leave the stupid brigade. Mm-hmm. So again, they never had someone talk to them the same way that Trump was talking to them. The man he's not a politician. He's a businessman. A lot of people don't like him because of the way he talks. Okay, that's what you call a businessman. This businessman did not take his salary. The salary for being president is $300,000 a year, is what the president gets paid. And by law, he has to take $1. So he turned the salary down. He gets paid $1. So what that means is Trump, while being president, running the United States, is also running his companies because if he doesn't make money for his companies, he's out of business. So he was doing two jobs at the same time. Very well. He was doing things. Sometimes people don't like the way he speaks to other people, but it's kind of like he's at least, where you stand with him. He's one of those people that because he's still alive, he's still around, I would actually like to shake that man's hand to simply say that, hey, you did a good job. So there were occasions where I'll call it, he did the end zone dance. And what that means, that's kind of a playoff of the game of football, American football, where when you score your touchdown, you start holding the ball up and you start doing these little dances in your face and stuff like this, where it's like there's sometimes he does the end zone dance a little too long. But the sad part is not sad part, but he makes certain points where all the people, all these politicians were his friends before he got into politics. And then when he finally got into politics, now they're turning on him and thinking he's the same man he was before. You guys just don't like him because he's bucking the system. And there's two things that need to happen inside the United States, and that is term limits, meaning that you only get to serve twice. So they'll be like, you can serve for 4 years. I'm not talking about the president. I'm just for Congress, for our Senate, our House, all of them. 2 term limits tops, 4 years and 4 years, because you cannot steal enough money in 8 years to live the rest of your life without harm. And then you have to go back and live amongst the real people. And if you were a turd and now you have to live amongst the real people, your neighbors will let you know what a turd you were. I get term limits would be one factor, but then fact checking. We used to have fact checking to where the moment that someone would say something, you were held liable for what you said. If you were like a newspaper magazine and you printed something wrong, you better print a forgive me. You had to put something back out there to where that this was wrong, statement, stuff like that. But there is no fact checking anymore. Obama is one who opened up that Pandora's box. to where our news could say anything they want. And
Well,
that's wrong.
yeah. Well, he spoke nicely. That's what people like.
Yeah, great.
Well, again, no, intelligent man. No, again, intelligent man. A lot of people would say because they think that I'm being racist because I say this because I go, oh, you're attacking the only black president ever. I go, no, actually, I voted for him. But I go, but what was my choice? And that's what I really want people to understand. I go, I would actually like to go up to one of these presidential debates just to walk up to the microphone and go, which one of you two turds do I have to vote for? I don't like either one of you, but which one of you are going to stink up the place the least? And that's who I'm going to vote for. That's how I feel about it. There's no real true politics. Again, Trump he'll probably go down as the best president ever in the terms that during his 4 years that he was there, look at what he did for America and Americans.
Yeah,
and that is what I simply say, drop the mic. That's facts. That's just strictly facts. And then look at all the other turds and look what they did.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, let's say, hater during Trump's first run, but I'm still a little bit bitter because he pushed around that prime minister at the time. But now looking back at moves he done on geopolitical scene and national scene in United States, it actually makes a lot of sense and everything. So I think he will be back for the second term.
At least the world wasn't burning as it currently is burning all around the place. And I think he actually had a lot to do with it, the world being at peace.
Yeah, I always tell people, there's only a couple candidates so far that are vying for this. They're looking at Biden and they're looking at Trump. Now, again, let's talk a couple things about fact. The fact was Trump had to endure a cognitive test. That's a fact. When he was in office, people challenged it, and he took it, and he passed it with flying colors. There's a lot of people, an awful lot of people that are questioning Biden's mental capabilities.
I mean, we have eyes.
And why isn't he being held to the same standards that Trump was being held to? You guys challenged him. Why were there not any tests?
Yeah, but I think that this whole campaign for the next president is turning into charade. Everything they are doing to Trump with all those trials and similar.
Yeah. Well, I just know bottom line that when it comes to the American political system, there's a lot of changes that need to be made. And again, term limits, 2, and then you got to get out. Because as I said before, you can always steal only so much money, but you can't steal enough to last the rest of your life. And then you have to go back and you have to live amongst your people. Oh, that'll be really interesting when you have to go live amongst them. You don't get to live in this little gated community over here. No. You have to live amongst the people once again.
Yeah.
But
teach your neighbors.
Neighbors from hell part 2.
Yeah. Well, look what happened. I mean, again, we'll go into something different. But the last thing I'll say is that look at all the various illegal aliens that are coming into our country, and then what's happening is that they're being shipped by airplanes or whatever to different states, different cities inside of states. But it seems like they're only being shipped to states that are not conforming to the agenda. They're not shipping them to California. They're shipping them to states like Florida. Yeah. What is a Democratic state? What is a Republican state? And why are they shipping there? I go, why don't they bring them all right back to where all wherever all these political leaders live? Martha's Vineyard. Why don't they ship them all to Martha's Vineyard? You got all these people that are voting for them. You should, Nancy Pelosi and all these other people should welcome. Why do they have big fences around their property? Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder. And yet they don't want to have a fence in between borders. Wow. Huh. Talk about two-faced. Huh. I don't know. Just doesn't make sense here in Dan Severn's world.
Yeah. Right. But let's get a little bit back
Sure.
to MMA and pro wrestling. Have you maybe
You got me in a fighting
encount-
spirit here now. Let's go.
Yeah, go let's read. Have you maybe encountered during your long career and in your recent years, maybe some of the prominent fighters or aspiring fighters coming to you and asking, "Did you see my fight? Do you have maybe some advice? What should I do? Am I good?" Have it maybe happened to you? Because coming from the beast, it probably would mean a lot to a fight.
Well, no, there are some fighters I see that I know that. Well, again, Justin Gaethje. Okay, that was just at 300. I have relayed information out to Justin Gaethje. I actually spoke to him before because we've had him on on the podcast there before. Again, great fighter. I go, Justin, you have a very good amateur wrestling pedigree.
Division one.
Yes. And I said, why are you not using any of this amateur wrestling? He goes, Dad, he goes, I like to stand there and bang with my opponents. And usually if you're standing there banging, you hopefully you're landing more on them than what they are landing on you, but you don't ever get out of it scot-free. For every, you might get, maybe 8 or 10 good ones in on them, and they might get only 2 or 3 in on you, but you're still taking some punishment. We already talked about this more that boxing for the longest time has been one of the biggest dementia, Alzheimer's, CTE type of contributors.
Yeah.
And then you've got the UFC is probably a close second to it, and now slap boxing that'll be that one that'll creep into it really quickly right there. Taking head trauma, you want to take as little head trauma as possible. There's I look at the stupidity inside the United States, and these people aren't even in these doing any of these kind of MMA matches or slap fighting. I'm thinking, what's your excuse?
Yeah. That wasn't from accumulated damage. That was something else.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like I don't know if you guys could actually see if I swing this around because I got that American flag. Because it's not gonna show
That's
the difference.
fine.
Yeah. I was going to simply swing it around because I'm here down in Coldwater, Michigan. Just getting back from Arizona, and I'm in the process of trying to put together, a wrestling clinic for next weekend. I actually have a weekend off. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. So it's like going, I'll make myself busy. And it's like I'm looking at hosting an amateur wrestling clinic, but I'm also doing again. Since I'm already going to dedicate my day. An amateur wrestling clinic is only go for an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. I go, okay, I'll do an amateur wrestling one earlier in the morning because wrestlers are used to getting up earlier. Then I'll do something that's more geared towards MMA and submission grappling, and then I'll do one that's geared towards professional wrestling. So I'll just take one day, 2 hours for this, 2 hours for that, and 2 hours for last night. So I'll make myself. I'll be doing all the posts here probably later today, and just get that information going out towards I don't know what to do on my non-busy days. I like to stay busy, but even we talked about the scratch.
Yeah.
I'm out. I have a person that's talking to me, just ask me all kinds of questions. I go, walk and talk. I go, I don't want to simply sit here, just walk and talk with me. And I took him out in the orchard. So as we're in the orchard, he just thought he thought it was unique because he's got his microphone and stuff like that. And I'm just clipping away. And then so he in the same hour that it took him to do the interview, I ended up getting 2 trees done. So it's like if I just sit in my office like this, I don't get anything else done. I truly do like what I do. But there's still like a farmer. I'm a farmer's son type of background. I grew up on a farm, stuff like that. I don't own a farm now. I just have if I want to put in a little garden or if I want to, but I have the fruit trees, and the fruit trees have to be taken care of each year. It's just like the property here. There's light bulbs that need to be changed that are burnt out. They need to be painted, spruced up because it can't have it looking, haggard and things of that nature. So there's still some stuff that I will do to tidy up and make the place look a little bit more presentable, because that's an extension of Dan Severn.
Mhm.
Then, perhaps a final one from me. I wanted to ask you this because we touched upon it a little bit on our last podcast, where you spoke about, for example, Jeff Jarrett and the time they told you to return the belt, and you regretted telling them, not telling them to. Yeah, I wanted to ask you because obviously you spent some time in that 90s locker room, WWE, and a lot of big egos there. Did you ever actually had to ego check someone? Did ever any of those guys in professional wrestling try to get wise with you?
I have one match. I can't think of the gentleman's name, where you basically the term for professional wrestling is it's a work. But if they start to do a shoot inside of a work, that's not cool. So I had a match in California. I think this way back when, and the gentleman actually tried to do a shoot in on me, and literally I did what I call the power bomb from hell. He shot in on my legs. I simply just grabbed him around the waist, and then literally as I brought him up, I was bringing him up in the air. I released him as I had his hands around his waist. I released him. He was still going up as I grabbed him by the hips, and then I brought him down. And I proved Newton's law of gravity. Whatever goes up must come down very, very hard. And when he hit, that wasn't supposed to be the end of the match, but that was the end of the match, because it knocked the wind right out of him. And as he lay there, he's going, and I just put my foot on his chest. I go, stay there for the pinfall. I think the referee just got down to 1, 2, 3, boom, done. That wasn't supposed to be the match, but that was the match.
Yeah, but tapping into your pro wrestling days, which was your favorite opponent from back then, either from WWE, NWA? Anyway,
I didn't wrestle anyone enough times. I really wish I had been born during the territory type days.
Oh yeah,
because in those territory type days, there was none of this internet, no cell phones. So literally, you could be in the Eastern Territory, a Midwestern Territory, a Western Territory, or you could be in a Northern Territory or Southern Territory. So you might be there for a couple years, and then there'll be that match that comes up and be like, and a loser leaves town match, and now I lose. And now and all the people like, yeah, boo, out of here, Dan Severn. Okay, boo, boo. So now I go to one of the other territories, and I'm there for the next 2-3 years until the change of agenda. I really wish I had been involved with it at that point, because there you wrestled the same guy over and over again, but it wasn't televised. It's not on the internet. You just went from one city to another city to another city, and people just didn't travel like that, like they're willing to travel or to see through the internet. Because you could be in one part of the country and but they're going to live stream it, through their devices. So that has changed. I really wish I would have been there in that, because it would have been great to work with the same guy over and over again, knowing that you don't even think about the match. It'd be like going, okay, you and I, we have to wrestle here again tonight. Who gets the win? Okay, and all you gotta do is simply find out who gets the win. And do you want a dirty finish? Because like in a dirty finish, it keeps the baby face looking strong or something like that, where it looks like he cheated. There's all kinds of ways of getting those finishes. But I wish I had been alive, alive at that time era, because that would have been the time era that I would have best fit in.
Yeah, and is there a wrestler from that time that you would wish that you wrestled with the most?
Of course. Again, who is the longest reigning champion from the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance?
From NWA.
Luthez.
Oh, Luthez. Oh yeah,
yes.
Nice.
So again, only because he had a stranglehold on the NWA belt. He held that belt longer than any other person. Be someone like him, but then also someone like a Bruno Sammartino.
Oh yes.
He sold out more Madison Square Garden shows than any other wrestler in his time there. Because that's where these are just people that I learned about, I admired, and so
Yeah, you versus Lutez would be something back in the day.
well again, but the one thing when you watch professional wrestling now, how much wrestling do you actually really witness? You don't really witness wrestling. You witness punch, kick, chop,
A lot of
punch, kick,
acrobatics.
chop. You shoot him in a rope, shoot him in the turnbuckles. There's so much flippity doing that's taking place. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the moves that they're doing, absolutely incredible. High risk maneuvers means you're going to get hurt sooner or later along the way, or much quicker. The marquee says professional wrestling. Give me some wrestling. I don't see any wrestling anymore. And wrestling means you actually take your opponent up and you put him on the ground. Who's doing any switches, any grabby rolls, any far side rolls? They're getting up to their feet. They're breaking the hold into where they're doing reversals that they should. They're not. Because, well, first off, they're not even educated in those fields. Now, an amateur wrestler can actually go out there, and that's where when I finally go to an area and I meet someone for the first time, it's kind of going, what is your athletic background? I said, did you happen to do any amateur wrestling? And when they said they did, I go, great. We could do something different than the normal tie-up. We could do something different for some actual moves. So the marquee says professional wrestling. Give them at least a little bit of wrestling, not punch, kick, chop, and whip them off, clothesline. I mean, there's just a certain standard type thing that I'll put in there, but it's only after I've done some amateur wrestling with them in the beginning, knowing that lots of people aren't going to understand it. Now I got to get back to a little bit more entertaining things that they've been so used to see it.
Yeah, but there's the reason behind it, the evolution of the pro wrestling itself and everything going on. But it would be refreshing to see something original in pro wrestling, definitely. But
yeah,
and time is flying with you, so we need to send another link and we have 1 minute. So
it's probably because I've been drinking coffee and stuff like that, so I'm a little bit more of a chatty Cathy down here this morning.
Yeah.
IKUZO.
And I have a question that I must ask, and probably every UFC fan would ask you. What would be your Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts?
Oh, I wouldn't even begin to even address that one right now. There's so many. There's been so many great champions that are deserving of it. But
yeah, totally understandable.
We'll just go on to the next question on that one. I can't really be as blunt on that one right now because that's something. There are some people that are very, very deserving and for different reasons.
But you would have to include Don there because
again, just for but Rushmore, I don't know if they got enough rock there to get that big bushy mustache that he has. Okay.
Would they have 2 mustaches on that mountain?
Yeah, I always tell people that Don Frye, because I always say, you guys, I go, so how is it that you guys know each other? Both of you guys have mustache stuff like that. I go, mine is usually trimmed and proper. I go, Don is very unruly, I go, it's like, you don't know. I said, he might have a ham sandwich stuck up in there somewhere. You never know what he's smuggling inside that mustache.
Yeah. It's such an iconic image for both of you guys. I want to ask you, and this is obviously you and him are doing your Toxic Masculinity podcast, but recently you started obviously your Unleashed podcast as well.
Very careful.
Yeah. One wasn't enough for you, obviously, podcast to get all the great thoughts out. Do you enjoy doing both podcasts? Do you have other, kind of criteria for this one? Is with Don just shooting random shit, you two guys?
Well, no, I mean, a lot of people are just simply entertained by the toxic masculinity between Don and myself, because we've got good chemistry. I mean, I'm usually the whoopee
Absolutely.
boy between the two of us, but that's all right. I mean, I don't mind. It's like I tend to set myself up, and Don knocks me down every time. That's okay. I can handle that. But it's like, there's I mean, we have a long history in the sense that he was one of my wrestlers when I was coaching at Arizona State University. And he lived with a couple of my younger brothers. So I know Don much like a younger brother in that same sense. When he saw that I was in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, he's like, we kind of grew apart for a time period because I left Arizona. I took a job from Arizona State to Michigan State, so it took me to in a different direction, and I kind of lost track of him for a little bit. So he reached out to me, and he's like, Severn, could you help get me in the UFC? That's I always tell people that. The only credit I will ever say is that I helped Don Frye get his foot in the door. Don Frye kicked that door wide open on his own ability. So, and he was at the time probably the most complete fighter because he had a stand-up background, he had a boxing background, and he had his judo background, and he had amateur wrestling. So he had three different things kind of going for himself. So he was like the most complete athlete at the time. Like I said, with each new year that a sport comes around, the bar was continue to be raised as it is right now. No one has really, well, I should say, a couple people have used the cage wall because the way the rules are read, you can use that cage wall. You can actually step off it, and you have some people right now that they'll actually step off that cage wall and then throw a head kick at you or something like that. So you're starting to see some more type of athleticism being incorporated by the utilization of the cage itself. Back when it was no holds barred, I remember I've actually submitted people at the time. You could actually grab the cage. I'd have my opponent down on mat, and their side of their face was against the cage wall. And then I would grab the cage and put my top of my head right against the side of the face, and I just started to squish, just pull and squish. I don't know if you ever had as a kid a Play-Doh squishing machine where you take the Play-Doh and you squeeze it and go, it makes all that these crazy lines. Well, he ended up screaming out and tapping, and literally the referee was like dumbfounded. He said he just tapped out because of what I just did there. But when he stood up and he saw the side of his face, he had chain link impressions on the side of his face. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good template for a tattoo.
To me, it's like, how do you train a technique like that? Like, hey, why don't you come over here, Peter, and let's lay it out. Let's try. No, you got. Those are just one of those things. It's like I was there. I like, why not? Let's give it a try. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And do you think that in some way, guys like you, like Don Frye, like Gracie, that you actually paved the way for all those guys today to make a living from mixed martial arts?
What was the question though? To it?
Do you think that guys like you, like Don Frye, like Gracie, paved the way for today's?
I'll say that there wasn't. I'll say there was an athletic portion to that, but then I think probably one of the more demanding portions was the UFC early on came underneath a great deal of scrutiny. You had different politicians and legislators that came after the sport, trying to do away with it altogether. They're saying how barbaric, how primitive. It was like Gladiator. It was, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. It was, it was so barbaric. They're waiting to see, where is Caesar? Caesar's like, shall he live or shall he die? This kind of stuff. It's like, it was so extreme in the beginning, but to me, I always looked upon this. This was an athletic type of event. People with skill sets. Now, again, you could do some pretty barbaric things to people. It's like people were blown away when they saw my very first match ever when I did a belly to back suplex. That's a professional wrestling move that you don't normally see inside of a cage. But I knew what I was doing, and it just presented itself. The cool part was that it presented itself back to back. in that, and I've only ever been able to do that move only on, I think, just very few matches, maybe like 3 matches or less that I've ever been able to pull off that belly to back suplex, because the person's got to be, you know, in the right position in order for that to happen. But I know I kind of went off script a little bit there. I'll back up before we run out of time again.
Something
Did we-
happened
did we-
with
I
our
just lose you?
camera. Yeah, just let me check.
Camera for a moment.
Oh, we have,
I'll-
is that called technical problems here now?
Yeah, I'll will be back in second. I believe you can stay alive and chat with Luca off record.
No, no
That's-
problem.
Yeah,
Well,
it's-
I'm glad it's not happening on my end. Because typically, I'm the person, I don't understand really what I'm doing half the time. I just simply know that people send me links. I just click on, and magically it happens. I don't know how to fix a lot of this.
Yeah, you know, it's tech, but something just with the connection here happened, you know. So
Huh?
yeah,
There you go.
here we are.
There you go. Bingo. 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 Bingo.
So we can just continue where we were. You were saying.
No, see, again, just to kind of keep something flowing here now.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that, like, when we end here, I'm actually going to be speaking to one of the owners of the Insane Clown Posse, and to me, it's like Dan Severn might be doing something with the Insane Clown Posse here in the next couple weekends. So that'll be an interesting phone call that'll be taking place. But then there's something that I might be doing with the NWA as well, because a couple people have passed on some of my interviews where I've said that I'm still the NWA champion. I have never
You
lost
said that
it.
here. You said
What's
that
that?
here, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I've also said that on other interviews
Yeah, I
as
believe.
well, because I'm still trying to spread the word to state the fact that I was stripped of the belt, and I really wish, again, that was the thing I said before, that I really wish I would have just kept the belt at that point. That simply to tell them, okay, you said whatever man or woman or whatever it is to see if they can take it from me. I said, you know, but I just gave it back up. But I'm looking at that. Someone has caught wind of this, and there's an NW opportunity that is down on the horizon. So as Dan Severn gets older, stuff like that, I always tell people that I have retired from mixed martial arts. So I've retired from that, but I haven't retired from amateur wrestling. I haven't retired from submission grappling. I haven't retired from professional wrestling. So you might still see this silver-haired fox run around there inside of various rings or being on mats, because I like what I do still. And I don't think that, and I still think that I could be very competitive. But the problem is, how much younger do I have to go to get competition? Can I just go out there and just raid at the 65 to 70-year-old category, or do I have to go back up to 50-year-old category to 45-year-old category? It's like you got to look at. There's not, as one gets older, the pickets get a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, just be careful if you return.
Oh no, I'll be careful. Trust. The goal, I told you, I think I told you guys before, but the goal is still live to be 125. That's the goal.
Yep. And before we wrap up, would you maybe share your version of presidential fitness test? What's there?
Say again, my version of presidential what?
Fitness test that you spoke about.
Oh,
And
again,
your version that you made.
Well, I mean, the president. Well, I can't. It'd be tough for me to go into all the details, but
yeah,
I just think that most Americans and most people think they have to go to a gym in order to exercise. What does this floor? What did this floor cost you? Nothing. You still have to have the same type of energy and drive, goals and ambition Whether you drive to a gym to go work out, and then you have to worry about, is my hair right? Is my makeup right? What is my shirt and stuff like that look like? Get it, whether you be a female or male. To me, I look at that. Just work out at home. You can still do push-ups. You can still do sit-ups. You can still do squats. You can still do burpees, jumping jacks. There's an endless a list of exercises. What I'm actually working on right now is because I split my time between Coldwater, Michigan, where I'm at right now, and basically an hour and a half away in Howell, Michigan. I have a very unique waterfront property that I acquired. Just this will be summer number 4, spending on the island. It's an actual island. I mean, that's cool. Yeah, I had to take a boat. I've never owned a boat before. So I actually have to take a boat to go out to. You can see it from the shore. It's not like some tropical paradise. I would never, I would never want to own an island out in, say, the ocean, because if there's stuff, if I go swimming out in the ocean, there's stuff that's out in that ocean that will kill you, eat you. Sharks, things of that nature. This is what's known as freshwater. It's a freshwater lake. There's fish, inside there, but there's nothing that's going to hurt you or kill you. So it's really cool that I like spending time out there, and it's fixing up the property. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I actually might be heading over there by tomorrow. Is what I'm looking into it. I have a lot of things I'm still trying to do here about the orchard, things of that, trimming up things, but then I might head over there tomorrow and spend 2 days just working on the property there, because it needs a lot of TLC as well. Tender loving care.
Oh, yeah. Then, before we wrap up, our tradition, we say a quote in our language and translate it to English. And I picked quote for this episode, and or Montenegrin, it goes like this. Zamisli da si sova I dužnost ti je da žmuriš I da se bojiš svjetlosti. A ti se čvrsto zarekneš I hipnotišeš sunce. And it comes from our writer, poet, Mika Antić. And on English it would be, imagine that you are an owl and your duty is to squint and to be afraid of light, but you firmly swear and go on to hypnotize the sun. It's all about the power of will, isn't it? That's the quote. I hope you liked it.
Okay, I didn't quite understand all of it. I didn't quite understand all of it. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, of course. Imagine that you are an owl.
The English portion of it.
What? Imagine that you are an owl, and your duty is to squint and to be afraid of light, but you firmly swear and go on to hypnotize the sun. Better now?
Okay. Now, okay. Yeah. No, I get that. Makes a lot more sense. No, that makes a lot more sense. No, everyone's got to live their own life, and it's to be, I believe in you should have dreams, you should have goals, and you have to be able to decipher between what is reality, and then there's certain things that I actually have listed for myself. That is, it's the question mark. It's like I said earlier. My goal is to live to be 125. That's not the norm. Most Americans are gone somewhere. I mean, it's sad when I see my high school. I get an annual newsletter, and it's becoming more and more of the obituary column is all what it is, because more and more people are dying, and that means they're all dying around that 65 years of age, because they're the same age as what I am. And it's like that kind of that starts to sadden me, because I'm thinking, you guys did not live a fraction of a life that I have lived to be able to travel. I mean, I like the fact that I've traveled to every state in the United States. I've been to practically every country that has ever had a wrestling program. I've been to at one point in time, to not just the sightsee, but to actually be there and be in competition at things, to see a lot of cool things. And that's not going to cease for me. I'm still like a child in a lot of ways, where I like to see and do But I also have not only my own children, but now I have 5 grandchildren.
Mm.
And my grandchildren, they're at the age where, you know, look, I have to go into one more story here for you. But my daughter was in a pinch. This was just a few days ago. She was in a real big pinch, and that she needed a babysitter just for an hour and a half, and no one else could do it. And she goes, Dad. So I was like the last straw. She goes, Dad. She goes, I know how busy you are. Do you think you can babysit, your grandson here for the next hour and a half? I go, sure. And she comes back later, and when my grandson left, she goes, he will. She called me like about an hour or so later. She goes, he will not be quiet. He keeps asking about you. He goes, he wants to go over and go. He wants to go, Grandpa, wrestle, Grandpa, wrestle, Grandpa. Because I had him over there, and he was having the time of his life because he was out in my training facility, and I had him going. He had a tablet. Okay, I think you know how Dan Severn feels about these tablets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I had a tablet. I was able to get the tablet out of his hand, and I started basically I'll do like body slams with him. I have a crash pad. I just started doing these body slams on the crash pad. And then I had him start doing all these like little agility drills. I blew up a balloon, so he was punching the balloon up in the air. And I go, not just right hand, you got to put that left hand up in there. So literally, I was doing coordination drills with him. He did not know it, but I was actually exercising him, and I was trying to make him a better person. On top of just testing him for his different colors and numbers and stuff like that nature, because I'm educating him, but I'm doing it in a very interactive and a very playful way. To where it's like, I'll have them over here later today, and they'll be helping to pick up all the limbs that Grandpa has down in the orchard. But I'll make it into a game. How many limbs can you carry? How many trips can you make? So I'll make it a fun activity, and then they'll get a reward afterwards. It'll be some type of a treat that Grandpa will go and get for them. So it's kind of like, yeah, and that's what my daughter said. She goes, you are not going to be a normal grandpa at all now, are you? I go, was I normal with you guys? Nope. I don't plan on being normal with my grandkids either. I go, I think it's time for them to also start learning real amateur wrestling, not just roughhousing with grandpa, real wrestling too.
What can I say except have fun?
Yes.
Exactly. Life, you get to live it once, or do you?
Yeah. Dan, thanks for joining us for second time. I hope the sequel lived up to the original for our fans, and thank you.
No, again, it's been a real pleasure. One of these days, we'll actually meet face to face.
I hope so.
All right. Well, take care, and thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day.
We stay genuine, uncensored, and unscripted, and we always will, as we have to order our usual. Share us and subscribe us, and stay tuned until the next Wednesday. IKUZO!